Atlanta is building a new city on top of active train tracks. It's a $5 billion project most people don't even know about. It's called Centennial Yards, and it's reshaping downtown ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The real opportunity isn't the buildings going up. It's the ripple effect reaching the nearby neighborhoods. I've been in real estate for 28 years, and today I'm breaking down what you need to know about this massive project and how it affects you, whether you live in Atlanta or plan to move here. So for decades, downtown Atlanta had this roughly 50-acre hole sitting right in the middle of everything. And honestly, most people just drove around it and didn't think about it at all. This land was called the Gulch, and it's this sunken area of rail lines and surface parking lots sitting between the stadium complex and the rest of downtown. And locals mostly knew it as the place you tailgated before Falcons games or United matches. That's kind of it. But the reality is, it produced almost no tax revenue, it employed almost no one, and city leadership was very clear about this. They called it blighted infrastructure. Basically, it was blocking downtown from doing what downtown should be doing. So the plan now is to completely rebuild it into a true mixed-use district. Homes, hotels, shops, offices, public plazas, all of that layered together. The total budget is around $5 billion, which put this firmly in the category of one of the largest redevelopment projects Atlanta has ever taken on. In terms of scale, you're looking at roughly 8 million square feet of total development. That includes about 900,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space, around 2.8 million square feet of residential, roughly 1.7 million square feet of hospitality, a 300,000 square foot data center, and about 6,000 parking spaces. Now, the engineering here is massive. The site sits below street level, so developers have to build these steel and concrete platforms to raise large portions of the land up about 40 feet in some places, and then build streets and buildings on top of that. Project plans and reporting put that platform and related infrastructure work at around $500 million by itself. $500 million. The end goal is about 12 to 15 new city blocks built over structured parking and loading areas. And this part matters later, so keep it in mind. That platform engineering is exactly why the pricing dynamics here work very differently than most new construction in Atlanta. Stick around. Now, the project is being led by the CIM Group, along with a partnership group headed by Tony Ressler, who owns the Atlanta Hawks. And as I said, because the Gulch basically generated no tax revenue before, the city and state structured a major incentive package. The key pieces are an enterprise zone that redirects a portion of sales tax collected inside the district back into Centennial Yards for 28 years, and a tax increment financing structure tied to the West Side Tax Allocation District. Combined, those incentives are capped at about $1.8 billion. By late 2025, this stopped being conceptual and started being real. The Mitchell, a 19-story residential tower with 304 units, officially opened in early September 2025. That brought hundreds of apartments directly into the district with retail at street level. And then Hotel Phoenix, also a 19-story, 292-room lifestyle hotel, opened its doors in 2025, giving the area a major hospitality anchor right next to the stadiums. So this isn't speculation, and it's not just renderings. Actual buildings are open, streets are going in, and that empty hole downtown is finally filling in. And that's why this specific piece of land matters as much as it does. Quick note before we keep going. If you're considering a move to downtown Atlanta, or you're trying to understand what Centennial Yards does to nearby areas, I work with relocators and buyers tracking these shifts every day. My contact info is in the description below. please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, let's get back to it. So you could drop Centennial Yards almost anywhere else in Atlanta and it would be just another development. But this location is the whole thing. This is what changes everything. The Gulch sits right at the junction of some of the most important infrastructure in the city. To the west, you've got Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the Home Depot backyard. To the north, State Farm Arena and the Georgia World Congress Center. To the northeast, Centennial Olympic Park and the Convention and Entertainment District. And to the south and southeast, you've got Castleberry Hill and the historic blocks of South Downtown. On top of that, you've got two major MARTA rail stations right here. 5 Points, which is the heart of the entire system, and the Georgia World Congress Center CNN Center Station, which MARTA has now renamed the SEC District Station to reflect the sports and entertainment district around it. That gives you direct rail access across the region. You can get almost anywhere without a car. Invest Atlanta straight up describes Centennial Yards as sitting at the crossroads of Georgia's transportation system, and that's accurate. You're about 20 minutes from Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport and roughly 10 minutes from Midtown, depending on traffic. This is as central as it gets. But even with all of that, the Gulch delivered almost no day-to-day value for decades. It functioned as a massive stretch of parking lots and tailgating space with no active street frontage. And what that did is it completely broke the walkable connection between Centennial Park and neighborhoods like Castleberry Hill. It was basically a dead zone in the middle of everything. And this is where it starts to matter for the long-term value conversation we'll get into later. This geographic positioning is exactly why the battery comparison actually applies here, even though the contexts are totally different. Now, rebuilding the street grid is really the core of this entire project. The goal is to raise the site up to viaduct level so it lines up with the surrounding streets, create about 12 to 15 new blocks, and importantly, those blocks are smaller than typical Megaproject super blocks. That's intentional. It keeps a fine-grained, walkable pattern. And then the streets themselves are designed as shared spaces and pedestrian priority corridors that line up with existing east, west, and north-south streets around downtown. The architects talk about this as stitching the fabric of the city back together. The idea is a new 50-acre walkable mixed-use city center that actually connects seamlessly with the neighborhoods around it. So if you're walking from South Downtown or Castleberry Hill to a Hawks game or the aquarium, you're moving through active streets and plazas, not dropping down into a concrete void. Downtown Atlanta already works as a major engine. It's a dense office hub, a massive convention center, and a tourism cluster where visitors can walk between multiple anchor attractions in just a few minutes. That part already exists. By taking underused rail land right in the middle of that system and turning it into a dense, mixed-use neighborhood, Centennial Yards is positioned to push more of that foot traffic past storefronts, hotel lobbies, restaurants, and apartments instead of empty parking lots. And every single block that flips from parking to mixed use does two things. It generates its own rent and tax base, and it increases the value of the routes people already take between stadiums, hotels, offices, and major attractions. That geographic leverage is why the city structured such a large incentive package, and it's also why the World Cup timeline became non-negotiable. So now let's talk about what's actually coming before those matches kick off. So the World Cup gave Atlanta a deadline you can't move. Most mega projects don't have that, and it completely changes what gets built first and how fast it has to happen. Atlanta is set to host 8 matches for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, including a semifinal at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And that stadium is right in downtown's convention and entertainment district. Your steps from major attractions. You're near nearly 13,000 hotel rooms and about 300 dining options. And you're sitting in an area that already functions as one of the country's most compact convention and entertainment campuses. Fan festivals and a lot of the cultural programming are going to concentrate at Centennial Olympic Park. And the city and transit agencies are planning enhanced MARTA rail service plus infrastructure and security upgrades because you're dealing with global visitor volumes, not just a normal weekend crowd. In March 2024, Centennial Yards Company and CIM Group announced plans for an 8-acre entertainment hub inside the project, and they were very clear about why. It's designed to be ready as a fan focal point for the 2026 World Cup. The core of that is a big central plaza built as an outdoor gathering space and viewing area for fans and visitors. And it's positioned right between Mercedes-Benz Stadium and State Farm Arena. So it's in the exact path of where people already move. Around that plaza, there are 4 major buildings planned. You've got a 14-story hotel with about 230 plus rooms facing the plaza. You've got a 4-story entertainment venue that's roughly 160,000 square feet, and that's intended to be one anchor tenant. You've got a 2-story food and beverage building at about 50,000 square feet, and then you've got a 3-story immersive entertainment concept that's around 70,000 square feet. The target is for the plaza and the exteriors of those buildings to be open and active when fans start arriving in 2026. And they're being realistic about timing too, because some of the interior build-outs for specific venues can extend into 2027. But the public-facing part, the thing people actually experience, that's the priority. This isn't really about game days at all. The Mitchell Residential Tower is already open and leasing, and it's within a short walk to the stadium gates. Hotel Phoenix is now open right across from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then you've got streets, sidewalks, and the public realm around those first towers at Centennial Yards South. And those are in different stages of completion right now. The entertainment district's Central Plaza and the exteriors of the key buildings are planned to be substantially complete by 2026. Invest Atlanta's 2024 decision to monetize previously issued bonds for Centennial Yards specifically cited the need to accelerate development to match downtown's broader goals. And that timing lines up with the World Cup deadlines. So the World Cup basically locks in an early phase. At least one residential tower, at least one major hotel, streets and plazas at Centennial Yards South that are actually complete, and an entertainment plaza that functions as a real fan hub. That's the hard infrastructure piece. Now, let's talk about what actually changes in how people use downtown every single day. So think of a random Tuesday morning in October. No game, no concert, no convention. And downtown is still busy. People are grabbing coffee, walking to work, running errands. It starts to feel a lot more like Midtown than an event zone. Right now, the area around Mercedes-Benz Stadium is very event-driven. On game days, it's electric. And then in between, it can feel quiet and honestly, pretty underused. And the Gulch has been the missing link in all of that. It's been something you drive around or pass over, not something you move through. The project materials talk about this as building a real community, leading businesses, retail, a world-class entertainment district, and thousands of new apartments right in the middle of downtown. The idea is that about 22 million people already visit this area every year, but instead of flowing past parking lots, they're moving through active streets with residents, workers, and small businesses. That changes daily life in very practical ways. People living in towers like the Mitchell walk downstairs to grab coffee or sit in a plaza instead of driving in from another neighborhood. Hotel guests walk from their lobby to games, concerts, and attractions without crossing crossing massive stretches of parking or dead space. There's a central fan plaza in the entertainment district with terraces, landscaping, and direct views of the stadiums and the downtown skyline, designed to host viewing parties, markets, performances, and casual gatherings. And then, beyond that, there's a network of smaller plazas and widened sidewalks between the towers at Centennial Yards South. You've got green terraces and planted walkways that step down toward the active rail line. Centennial Yards basically extends the district south, pulling more daily activity past the edges of Castleberry Hill and South Downtown instead of stopping short. Official reports on the Battery Atlanta near Truist Park show taxable property values on that site increasing from around $5 million in 2014 to roughly $700+ million by the early 2020s. That translated into tens of millions in annual tax revenue tied directly to visitation and business activity. And a 2024 doctoral study on Truist Park and the Battery found that homes within about 2 miles of the complex saw stronger price growth than homes further away, especially attached housing like condos and townhomes. By stacking housing, hotels, offices, and entertainment around a major venue cluster, the district turns occasional stadium traffic into everyday street life. That supports small businesses on normal weekdays, not just on big nights. And that's where the real value comes from. Better daily use, not just major events. That daily use pattern is what drives property values over time. And that leads directly into what buyers and investors need to understand about timing and pricing right now. Downtown condos around Centennial Yards are trading at prices right now that probably won't make sense in 5 years. But that only works if you actually understand the timeline. Let's look at where the nearby housing market sits today. If you use the 30303 zip code and the downtown Atlanta neighborhood as stand-ins for the immediate area around Centennial Yards, typical home values are sitting in the high 100s to low 200s based on data through the end of 2025. If you're looking at condos and lofts within walking distance of the site right now, you're going to see a lot of options starting in the upper 100s and moving into the low to mid 200s. Some renovated or larger lofts are listed higher, but that's the general range. That puts downtown for sale inventory below the broader Atlanta median, which is sitting in the high 300s. Directly south of Centennial Yards is Castleberry Hill, which is one of the closest established residential neighborhoods to the project. Typical home values there are around the mid-low 300s, with recent median listing prices in the low to mid 300s. If you're buying in Castleberry Hill today, you should be thinking of terms of a lot of lofts and townhomes trading from the 200s into the low to mid 300s, with fewer higher-end units above that. At the metro level, Atlanta's median sale prices in 2025 clustered in the high 300s, with modest single-digit declines year over year. Months of inventory moved toward more balanced conditions, generally around 4 to 5 months, and days on market averaged in the mid-50s. Downtown and Castleberry Hill are trading at a discount to the broader metro median, in a market where prices have cooled and flattened out, but not fallen apart. So, if you're a buyer or investor looking at condos and lofts around Centennial Yards, here's the cleanest way to think about it. Short term, the market today is relatively soft. Inventory exists, days on market are long, and prices in a lot of buildings have pulled back into more accessible ranges. Medium term through and just after the World Cup, the early phases of Centennial Yards are up and running. You've got real activity, real streets, and real foot traffic, which can start to support stronger demand for homes within walking distance. Long term, in the later 2020s and early 2030s, that's where the larger payoff lives. More residential buildings deliver, more hotels open, more entertainment comes online, and the new street grid and public spaces become normal parts of how people actually use downtown. Centennial Yards is very clearly a multi-phase, decade-scale build. The 8-acre entertainment district is planned to be substantially open by the 2026 World Cup, with key venues delivering by 2027. The full build-out of the broader 50-acre plan, including additional residential and office buildings, more hotels, and incremental infill, is projected over roughly a 10 to 15-year horizon. So the next few years are about living through construction, but also buying into an emerging story at downtown discounted prices. The World Cup is a milestone. It's not the end point. The real test of value is how Centennial Yards functions as an everyday neighborhood in the later 2020s and early 2030s, once the cranes are gone and the plazas and storefronts have had time to settle in. This is a long growth story. It plays out over a decade, not a quarter. And understanding that difference is everything. Centennial Yards is building the kind of infrastructure that makes downtown living work for the next 30 years. The buyers who see that early are putting themselves in the path of long-term appreciation. If you're looking at downtown Atlanta and you want to understand how Centennial Yards changes inventory and timing, email me at hello@vcgrealty.com today. I'll walk you through the phases, what's available now, and what's coming next. I break down Atlanta's inside the perimeter market every week. Neighborhoods, development, projects, and investment strategy. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.